not know what happened when, when the talks happened and these guys were alone, and so we don't know whether those money exchanged hands or what the agreements were. We could have, talks that are actually viewed by the public, right? And, media can be brought in to broadcast it, and the two sides have these discussions, and we get to hear what the president has to say, and we get to hear what the former prime minister has to say. Because at the end of the day, we cannot keep on saying the country is bigger than all of us, and yet we're sticking to one side. We've got to be able to look at it from a country perspective. The demonstrations are hurting us. Many of the decisions that the government is making are hurting us, right? So if we come and, on one side we're saying, you need to bring the cost of living down, but we're not saying how you need to bring that down. On the other side, you're saying, okay, we've been doing all this, but then now at the same time we're increasing taxes. And, and we're not telling people, as we're increasing these taxes, where are you going to get the money to pay the taxes? So the government has a lot that it needs to do. The other side has a lot that it needs to do. We need to stop talking about the points that are supposed to be discussed and come with solutions. I expect Kenya Kwanza to come and say, on the aspects that have been mentioned, we're already doing something, and this is what we're doing. And Azimio can be able to say, you need to be able to bring down the cost of living, and right now, this is one of the examples we have for bringing down the cost of living. When you talk about opening the server, they keep saying, once the server is open, then we'll get to know who's a legit president. That is neither here nor there, because if you really look at it, even if the server was open and it found that there was information that was contrary to what people have been saying, how are we going to now come in? Are we going to come and say now, the president stops being the president? People have not asked those questions. What is going to happen? Is it going to be that, okay, now we found there's a problem here, but he's going to continue with his term until the end? Because he'll come and say, no, I do not know about that. All I know is that I was sworn in as president, and I'm the president. So there's a lot more that we need to be able to really look at. And even as we come and we're saying, yeah, we're fighting for this and we're fighting for that, we need to ask ourselves as well, what are the consequences? Are we ready for that? Same way when we talked about education and we're talking about, the junior secondary schools. This is something that has been planned for and, talked about for years. Why are we having a problem now? Why is it that we did not plan for how, those kids were going to get, number one, into those junior secondary school classes, and how was it being funded? That already tells us that from a government perspective, they're doing things and then reacting to whatever is happening. And when I say government, I talk about, this is from the government before, which encompasses what both KK and Azimio are right now. This is essentially the previous government, just on two sides. The only way that we are going to be able to move forward is if both sides decide and say, we are going to play our role the way it's supposed to be. Opposition and government. And, opposition being able to hold government, to account. And in parliament, parliamentarians coming and realizing, I represent my people, the ones who voted me in, not my principle.
Well, Wakili,